tell you something right now. The nation's capital they've got some damn nerves. Now I know all of you out there are going to look at Bryce Harper. And you're going to sit up there and say he left them. He left them high and dry. Signed a 13-year, $330 million deal to be a member of the Philadelphia Phillies. Not only did he leave, Stephen A., but he left for a team within the same division. How the hell are they supposed to feel? That's what you're going to say. I get it. And I'd even understand it if you're a Yankee and you're going to be a Red Sox, or you're a Red Sox and you decided to go to the Yankees. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, you're joining an evil empire. And if that's the analogy that you want to use, so be it. But I beg to differ. And I'll tell you why. When you look at Bryce Harper and the fact that he was serenaded with booze throughout most of the night, particularly in warm-ups, particularly as he was in the batting circle waiting to come up, batting third, particularly they laughed at him. Only time that they didn't boo him was when they were cheering over the fact that Scherzer had struck him out the first go-round. Now, he got his revenge in the 8th inning when he smacked that 450-foot two-run shot. And by the way, Bryce Harper thus far is batting about 429. Batting about 429. With a slugging percentage of OPS like 1,100 plus. The man has looked absolutely sensational thus far. He's got 3 home runs. He's got about 5 or 6 RBIs. He is flat out balling and looking like an MVP candidate. Obviously, it's 162 games. Obviously, it's incredibly, incredibly early. Who the hell knows what's going to happen as the season progresses? I will remind you they gave him $330 million for a reason, though. I will remind you that the dude is only 26 years of age. I will remind you that when you look at him and what he brings to the table, you are projecting what he's going to do based on what he has done.
ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Guests on the Stephen A. Smith Show appear via the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line, and you can always get in touch with the show through the 1-800-Flowers Twitter feed.
For Stephen A., he will be back tomorrow. And the Stephen A. Smith Show is brought to you by Credit Karma. Get your truly free credit scores and free credit monitoring from Credit Karma today. Credit Karma, get knowing. All right, so Knicks fans are just besides themselves. Because when you're a Knicks fan, and I am a Knicks fan, you don't have a lot of optimistic viewpoints, right? And we finally are at the point where we think maybe, possibly. And then Ric Bucher comes out with the Kevin Durant free agency news. And let me read it to you, and then we can kind of chew on this for a minute. He says, from everything I've heard, it's done. Yes, he's leaving. If he so much as gets the Knicks into the conference finals, he will be beloved there like he's never been at Golden State after getting 2 championships. And you know what? That's 100% right. I mean, it could not be more accurate. An 888-SAY-ESPN, 888-729-3776. I mean, just think about it. Because the Knicks right now, and let's be fair, are one of, if not the laughing stocks of the NBA. They are. They've been a poorly run team for a very long time. They throw good money after bad at trying to, turn the franchise around, and they're just incapable of doing it. Now, they finally have gotten to the situation where you look at it and you say, maybe, possibly, it's turning around in our advantage. How? Well, you unloaded Kristaps Porzingis, which is a move that I did not love and still don't absolutely adore, but you did that, you cleared up cap space, fine. You moved Tim Hardaway, cap space, fine. Worst record in the NBA, that's going to happen. Gives you a 14% chance. You can get no worse than the 5th overall selection. Then you take a deep breath, and you realize there's a good chance we're going to get a major star player here. I mean, an elite star player. That's one. 2 is, does Durant come here? Because to me, that defines everything here. If Kevin Durant chooses the Knicks, than everything that the Knicks fan has endured and been through, and Jeremy Lin and not bringing him back, and Jeff Van Gundy and lying on Alonzo Mourning's leg, and all of the things that the Knicks fan, the poor Knicks fan, because this fan base has had it as bad as any fan base in any sport for the last 20 years. And I include the Cleveland Browns in this conversation. If somehow Kevin Durant, this is all it takes, and you've heard a lot of people say, I mean, Bill Simmons said it, that this is going to happen. That this thing gets done, and Kevin Durant says, you know what? I want to go to the Knicks, and that's what you see all over the place right now. Ric Bucher says Kevin Durant to the Knicks is a done deal. So if there's ever anything that's going to go from his lips to God's ears, let that be the one. Because even if you're not New York, you have to understand, the Knicks fan loves this team. And they have been the laughingstock in the NBA for a really long time. And you finally look at it and say, there's a legitimate chance. You could go, what do they have, 15 wins right now? 5 more games, 15 wins? You really could go 55 wins next year if you're able to get one of the big kids in the draft and you get Durant and you figure that's packaged with Kyrie Irving. Teams don't go from dreadful, laughingstock, embarrassing to great like that. Maybe they could. Maybe there's a possibility that the Knicks would actually finally step in it and this could work out. 888-SAY-ESPN, 888-729-3776. Now, here's the thing. Because Durant's career is kind of shaped in a couple of different areas. Number one was his OKC days. And he was great, and he was a scorer, and he was a wonderful player. But in the end, I mean, let's be fair. He was incapable of ultimately getting it done. Then he goes to Golden State, and let's be fair. There's a lot of people that learn of him going to Golden State and think, you know what? It's weak-minded. It's very easy to join a team that is just so good. So he's going to go join a team which is 73 wins and a Draymond Green suspension away from winning a championship, and he's going to join that, and he does, and he pushes them over the top. But I guess the question is that, and he could retire tomorrow, and he's had one of the great NBA careers that we've seen. But you know what else? He has a chance to do something that not a lot have a chance to do, and that is come to New York, play for the Knicks, and lead them to victories, and lead them to, ultimately, the championship. And that does not happen. No one has done that. I mean, literally, the Knicks have not won a championship in my lifetime. 1973 is the last time. 1970 is the time before that. The game has completely changed. And there were times in the 90s where the Knicks were a team, you looked at them and say, you know what? With Patrick Ewing and Oakley and Mason and Starks, they're a good basketball team, but they could never get over the hump. And I don't even know if the Knicks fan needs the title right now. They need hope. And that in lies what Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving and maybe Zion present to the Knicks is hope. 888-SAY-ESPN, 888-729-3776. And wouldn't it be good, even if I don't care who you root for. You root for Milwaukee, you root for the Celtics, you root for the Hawks, you root for the Lakers, you root for whoever you root for. Tell me that the NBA is not better, is not bigger, doesn't have just a bigger feel in general when the Knicks are at least somewhat relevant. Guys are desperate to go to New York and perform on this enormous stage when the Knicks are 11-39. Could you imagine the attraction for other players if the Knicks were actually a team that was capable of doing anything and winning games? Now, God help me. Because you're a Knicks fan, and this is what runs through your mind. You'll get the 5th pick, you'll wind up with Bol, you'll wind up with Jimmy Butler, and you'll wind up with Chris Middleton. And that will be the result of this horrendous season. But maybe, just maybe, it won't be. Maybe, just maybe, for once, you get Zion. And I got to be honest, I love Zion. He's the guy. I think he's sensational. But if you told me right now, like if you locked it into me right now, Dave, let's make a deal. Remember that show, Let's Make a Deal? I might be dating myself, but Let's Make a Deal with Monty Hall. And it was on even recently on CBS. Let's make a deal. And they would say, here's the thing. You can have this, or you can hold off for another. If the NBA gods came to me right now and said, we will offer you Ja Morant, you will not get Zion, Would you take that right now? My answer would be 100% yes. So if I could wind up with either Morant or Williamson, couple that together with the available free agents out there in the NBA, got to be Kevin Durant, potentially Kyrie. Durant's the big fish. If you get Durant and Middleton or Durant and Walker, I could live with it. But if you get that and you're the Knicks, I think immediately you're relevant. Immediately. Dan in Kansas City. Dan is on the Stephen A. Smith Show with Dave Rothenberg sitting in. What's up, Danny?
Hey, Dave, how you doing? Big Royals fan. I'm sorry about 4 years ago. I know you're a big Mets fan, and I know the Royals beat them 4 years ago. But here's my point. Do you think with James Dolan on the team, any free agents could come to things like Kevin Durant?
I mean, listen, James Dolan almost as much as said on an interview in the New York studios with Michael Kay in that show that he believes that they're going to wind up there. Ric Bucher is now saying Durant to the Knicks, done deal. I don't know, and we've been fooled before, but do I think that there's a real chance that he winds up with the Knicks? I'm sure hopeful. Dan. I'd like to believe it, yeah.
I picked the Celtics to be the team out of the East. Is there a possible way they could still win the East?
Wait, you're talking about this year? Can the Celtics win the East?
Oh, yeah, this year.
Of course they can. I mean, listen, they were Game 7 of the Eastern Conference Finals last year without Kyrie Irving. So, yeah, thanks for the call, Dan. Of course they can. I don't think they will. I think Milwaukee's the best team. I don't trust Philly. I believe in Boston. Milwaukee, to me, is the best, and Indiana would be there if they were not hurt, and Toronto's kind of that wild card. So, right now, the East, to me, I would go Milwaukee, Boston, Toronto tied for 2-3, then Philly, then Indiana. Let's go to Donovan in Virginia Beach. Donovan, you're on ESPN Radio. What's up, buddy?
What's going on, man? Hey, I got a question.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think Kevin Durant bringing a championship to the Knicks would be greater than LeBron James to the Cavs? Now, I understand the Cavaliers, you know what I'm saying, the city of Cleveland having a championship for 50-plus years, but do you think just because of the media hype, it'll be greater than, you know what I'm saying, if he brought a championship to the Knicks?
I understand your question, and I don't think it's far off, but I would say no. I would say no. Because you got to remember, LeBron was born and bred there. LeBron changed the financial structure of that city. They're looked at as and let's be honest, like the biggest loser city in all of sports. So I would say no, but it might be a very close second to what LeBron was able to succeed and get done in Cleveland. I really do believe that. Thanks for the call, Donovan. I really do. I mean, if you can bring a championship to the Knicks, the fans are starved for success. But I tell you, and this is the thing that's so frustrating as a fan, especially of a team that seems to make more mistakes than they don't. If you wind up with Kemba Walker and Chris Middleton and Bol, this magical idea that we have sitting here today goes completely out the window. Now, the NBA is on ESPN Radio. Tune in tonight as future Knick Kevin Durant, but current Warriors and his teammates visit the Lakers, presented by Indeed. Coverage begins at 10 o'clock Eastern on most ESPN radio stations. We will continue with their calls. You will do that next. And then we're going to start to break down the NBA draft, knowing that Ja Morant is in. Where will he go? We'll get into that top of the 2 o'clock Eastern hour. So a lot to do. Phone number 888-SAY-ESPN, 888-729-3776. Rothenberg in for Stephen A., ESPN Radio and ESPN News.
This show and all of ESPN is streaming live on the ESPN app. Now with ESPN Plus, where you get more ESPN. Download the ESPN app today and take ESPN everywhere.
Need game tickets? Find your seats at Vivid Seats.